And we're going to be listening to Julia Ross, who was one of the founding members, along with me and some other people, of the Alliance for Addiction Solutions. So the topic today is try amino acids, and this is the foundational skill that all of us who use amino acid therapy, either for ourselves or for clients, learn. It's our basic skill. And very briefly, what we do is using the amino acid therapy chart or another assessment tool designed by Julia Ross, we identify what is the area of greatest neurotransmitter depletion. In other words, where we have our most symptoms. And depending upon where we have the most symptoms, whether it be fatigue and or anxiety and worry, or jitteriness, right? Or overwhelm, we will choose the right amino acid. And one way of doing it is to either use a chewable or to dissolve the capsule in a little bit of water, put it in your mouth, swish it around, hold it there for a bit, and then swallow it. Now, before you do that, I like people choosing 1 to 3 symptoms, um, rating your level of discomfort on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being if you don't have it, then we're not going to be trialing you on this amino acid. So most people who are going to be trialing are scoring somewhere around, 7 or 8. And then you swish it around your mouth, and we wait a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15, and then you check again with yourself and you rate those same symptoms. And if the dose was right, these numbers generally are cut at least in half, if not more. Sometimes what happens is they go down a little bit, but not enough. So then you take another one. And ideally, your numbers will now go down to where you need them to be. So this is the process of trialing. And I'm now going to turn this over to YouTube, and we'll watch Julia Ross and her staff as they do some trialing here. So we're going to do 2 different views.
Carbs to go away entirely.
Wait a moment.
And
go back to the beginning here. Okay.
Lisa,
Oh, wait a moment. I haven't shared it. Sorry.
take a look at the symptoms of type 1, the low serotonin crater. So why don't we start there with type 1? Instead of the negativity and the irritability and the lack of confidence and the fearfulness, people who have plenty of serotonin have a positive outlook, they're emotionally flexible, they feel self-confident, they have a sense of humor, and they do not have the late afternoon or nighttime carb cravings. There are 2 forms of the amino acid that produces serotonin. One of them is called L-tryptophan, and the other is called 5-hydroxytryptophan. So,
excuse me, can everybody hear this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
if you could get your bottle of tryptophan, and how many milligrams is in each capsule?
This is 500.
So could you put a couple tablespoons of water in a glass, and then open the capsule of tryptophan and empty it in? Okay, yes. And then you'll stir it around, swish it around in your mouth. So just swish for, a minute or so, and then you can swallow it. Usually when you swallow this way, liquefied aminos, they have an impact that you can feel pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah. Right now, I I can feel a slight improvement, like a little bit more relaxed than I was a little bit before, but not a big difference, I would say.
On a scale of 0 to 10,
Mm.
how much tension? Would you be a 7 or a 6 or a 10?
I was staying like earlier today, like sure, it was a really hard day today, but yeah. So I would say just when we started here, I think I was around 7 because the kids are sleeping now, so I would say around 7.
Good to know.
Okay.
And now,
But I feel a little bit more energized, not tired, but not excited, but a little bit more energized than I was.
like another 10% or more.
Maybe even more. I would say 20% more energized. Yeah.
Good, all right. So, let's decide, should you take a second one? Or should we go on to trial the other ones?
But yeah, I think I would go with another capsule.
Okay, let's do another one. Good for you.
Yeah.
What are you experiencing, if anything, the second one?
I definitely feel calmer, more centered.
Okay,
Yes.
so how much more? How much calmer do you feel on two?
But before my 6, I would say I'm around 3 or 4.
Aha, okay. So you were right, your instincts were excellent, you needed two, at least twice a day, I would say 3 times, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and bedtime. So, prior to these 2 tryptophans, what would your, craving score be on a 0 to 10 scale? With 10 being the greatest cravings? Today,
Today,
earlier.
I would see earlier. I would say 6, 7. I would definitely. If I didn't have this meeting, I would have definitely be eating right now something. Not
Okay.
because I'm hungry, because I had dinner just before.
Uh-huh,
But I will probably looking for a cookie or something in the pantry
Yeah.
for sure. Because it was a hard day, so I would definitely be eating something.
okay, good, this is a great time to be doing this then. So now would you say you have 0?
Yeah, I think it's close to 0. It's like 1 maybe. If it's a really good thing, why not? Because I'm up to it. It's delicious, but it's really good. Otherwise, no, it's just like I'm fine.
Great. All right, so we know that we hit the jackpot on this one. Now, on type 3, the low endorphin comfort craver, a lot of 7s and 8, and a 6. So those scores are quite high. And I know that in talking to you earlier, when we did our intake review, you said that was your top score, the top motivator for you to eat was when you're feeling a need for comfort.
I'm just going to stop this for a moment. And I want to know if there's any questions or comments about that particular trial.
Well, that really resonated with me because I was questioning it, but my question was that she answered was whether or not I have multiple scores in multiple areas, and I was curious about that. Do I need to like the glutamine? Is that just pretty much with low blood sugar? So it's best to like wait till I have an incident of low blood sugar to trial glutamine?
It depends on what your issues are. If you're really craving like sugar or other substances throughout the day, then like sugar and alcohol, then it might be a good idea to dose it at 1,000 milligrams 4 times a day upon arising, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, before bed. That way people get the most robust response. Other than that, people will use glutamine just in the moment. Like if you know you've gone too long without food and you're beginning to feel brain hunger as opposed to tummy hunger, or you're getting a craving for any substance or behavior, because this works for things like pornography and gambling as well,
Okay.
because these are all behaviors that come from depleted neurotransmitters or low blood sugar. So yes, you can do it either way, Russ.
And it's best then to follow that, open the powder into a small amount of water. And then switch it around and then take it, and then swish it
Mhm.
around in your mouth to allow it to absorb that way.
Yep, and then swallow it.
And then,
Conversely, some people just chew it.
okay,
You can just chew it and it'll dissolve and then you swallow it. I personally like the water bit,
okay,
but I have been known to chew things if there's been no water around it. I really needed it.
just get it on board.
Just get it on board however you can. Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Any
that
other?
answers my question. Thanks.
Okay, good. And by the way, if you find that your numbers are very high across the board, that's generally a sign that you're not eating enough protein. And so I like getting people eating 20 grams of protein every 4 hours for maybe the first week, then redo the chart, then see where it is. And you're going to start with whatever symptom is disturbing you the most. So you may have a bunch of high numbers, across all 4 categories or 5 categories if you're including blood sugar. But you want to choose the symptom that's distressing you the most, that you most. Like if I had a magic, I said, if I waved my magic and I could fix one thing in your mood or behavior, what would it be? Okay, that's where we start. All right, any other comments or questions about what we saw? Okay, let's go on for the next one. Share. And I just want to see something. I was going to do this one next.
Most people have no clue that in 2024, the best way to make money with Amazon is not by selling physical products.
Mouth, and I want you to like chomp on it once to break it up into some littler pieces, then just suck on those.
Under the tongue or not?
Yeah, under tongue, around the mouth, doesn't matter too much. So you do want to hold it in your mouth
Okay.
room.
There we go.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Reality Research series. This episode is all about eliminating the feelings of overstress that have become a chronic reality of life for so many of us, especially since the beginning of COVID. We're all actually supposed to be equipped with a lot of calming chemistry to naturally offset or counteract the stress feelings that are inevitably part of life. But when hit with too much stress for too long and have run low on natural calming chemistry, we can't move past the stress, especially if we have not been eating well. How can we raise our tranquility quotient? By eating plenty of amino acid rich protein, which our brains can then turn into GABA, our primary natural tranquilizer. To get a quicker jump start on GABA production, we can also take some GABA as a nutrient supplement. In episode 1, you saw Tara respond quickly to a trial of a supplement of GABA. In episode 2, we have 2 new GABA trialers with more serious, long-standing problems with stress and anxiety. The first, Sarah, was feeling wound up and close to panic right before her trial. Also, the stress section of her mood symptom questionnaire showed high scores. The second trialer is David. His mood symptom questionnaire also showed high stress scores with frequent feelings of overwhelm and anxiety. A recent brain scan had confirmed GABA deficiency and evidence of a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. The point of this reality research series is to prove that a few low-dose, inexpensive, and readily available amino acid supplements can restore our brain's natural capacity to generate positive moods and healthy appetites.
All right, so let's move on. Since you're feeling a bit wound up, let's do some GABA Calm. It's that blue sticker. There's a couple different, like it's the one that says GABA Calm. Yeah, perfect. So pull out one of those sublinks.
Now, this is very low dose
And
GABA.
what you do with this, it's meant to be dissolved in your mouth. But I'm gonna have you just chomp down on it once and then let the pieces dissolve. So you do want to hold it in your mouth. Break it into a few pieces and let those dissolve. So this is GABA. GABA is our natural tranquilizer, neurotransmitter. It works as an amino acid. If we are deficient in GABA, we're going to have symptoms like what we talked about in the beginning, the stressed out, burnt out types of feelings, feeling often or easily overwhelmed, feeling tense, and stiff, hard time relaxing and loosening up. We may have a lot of chatter going on in our minds. And then with cravings, we're going to turn towards substances for stress relief, to wind down, to relax. And that sounds a lot like what you used in the alcohol before. So a lot of people find this GABA Calm helpful in cutting down the alcohol because it does something very similar. So calming gives you you mentioned relief. So yeah, this is one of the supplements we could use to help with that. And it's a small amount, it's a little kind of mixture of a small amount of GABA, 125 milligrams. And then it has a small amount also of taurine and glycine, which are 2 also very calming amino acids that aid in GABA function. And then there's a teeny tiny amount of a stimulating amino acid, but that's such a small amount. Usually it just kind of rounds out the experience to be calm but focused. I have a lot of people taking this at night, and it really helps them sleep. So that stimulating aspect typically doesn't show up as stimulating. So yeah, that's GABA.
It's 5 milligrams of tyrosine is what she's talking about.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like slightly buzzy, in a very pleasant way. Yeah, it's funny. It's almost. I was gonna say, it's like I've had a half a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Something kind of cheerful about it.
It's boosting your mood a bit.
Yeah, it's right. So it's not just calming, it's actually, yeah, boosting my mood, I think. Yeah.
Do you like how it feels? Sounds like it. What, if you could put a percentage to the improvement you're feeling, separate it between like this percent more calm and this percent more of a mood boost, or you can combine it. What percent would you give me? 0 means you don't feel anything. 100 is complete resolution of all your issues.
I feel 60% more calm and 75% boosted.
Mhm.
And this is just one lozenge.
Yeah. And anything else you can say about this one? I mean, that's plenty, but anything else going on?
Don't think so.
Well, it sounds like it's good for kind of a daily use. Do you still feel wound up, or is that,
No,
do you feel wound up at all?
no.
Okay. So that is 100% better.
Yeah.
So I'll be using this with you a couple times, maybe 3 times a day, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and towards the evening before bed. All right, so I'm gonna move on with you.
Okay. Before we move on to David, any questions or comments?
Was that 100 milligrams of GABA?
So this is a product called GABA-Calm, which is chewable by Source Naturals, and it has they say the serving size is 2 lozenges, but most people don't even need 2. She just took 1. So
Got
in
it.
1 lozenge, you have 125 milligrams of GABA, and I can't remember how much taurine and glycine is in there, but there's some. I think there's a little bit of inositol, and then there is 25 milligrams, teensy of L-tyrosine.
Got it.
And it tastes good. It comes in a couple of different flavors. And you can actually put it in like an Altoids tin and take it to work, or put it in a child's backpack and nobody will know it's medicine because it'll look like candy. The other version of that is chewable GABA by Now, which is a very similar formula.
Christina, do you need to take this away from food?
If you take it away from food, you're going to get a quicker, more robust response. But because it's sublingual and it's absorbing through the mouth and going straight to the brain, you're not going to want to chew one of these in the middle of a dinner anyway, right? But you can take it before or take it after. And actually, a lot of people go into meals very wound up and very anxious and overwhelmed. And, it's been really hard getting dinner on the table and settling the whole family down. So taking one of these or 2 before starting the dinner process or before sitting down for dinner can allow you to actually relax during the meal and enjoy it. And relaxing during the meal allows you to digest much more effectively.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Was it surprising to see how quickly she came down?
I think the trials that I do too, also with clients that call for a GABA support, it's amazing. Each one of them do calm down a little bit. So it's pretty amazing. It really works.
Yeah, Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think we have any trials here of an energizing amino acid, but it's nice to see how quickly people can calm themselves down. And I've had clients, in full-blown panic attacks in my office, and I've given them either GABA or theanine along with some glutamine if it's been a long time without food. And within 10 minutes, the panic attack's completely gone. So it's pretty amazing. All right, let's look at this next story. Here we go.
So, the GABA calm we were talking about earlier. And that's that little sublink. Okay, so go ahead and just take one of them. You're gonna pop it into your mouth. And I want you to like chomp off and break it up into some littler pieces. Then just suck on those.
Under the tongue or not?
Yeah, under tongue, around the mouth, doesn't matter too much. So you do want to hold it in your mouth for a little bit and try to just let it dissolve. Because it is meant to dissolve in your mouth and go straight to the brain and give pretty immediate relief. A lot of people take this when they're really overwhelmed or stressed or anxious. Because GABA is our natural tranquilizer. And it looks like even you're deficient in GABA, you need GABA, which is why you're taking it at night. But it sounds like you could use some for anxiety during the day as well. You do have a 7 on overwhelm, often feel overwhelmed. This is great for when you're feeling overwhelmed. It can really calm you down and help you to just get started on something and get the ball rolling. GABA in itself is an amino acid and a neurotransmitter. And what you're taking right now, it has a small amount of GABA, 125 milligrams of GABA, and then a small amount of 2 other calming amino acids that help with GABA function, called taurine and glycine.
Like this, whatever is going on right now.
Yeah, what are you feeling?
Yeah, just relaxed. I mean, it's kind of nice, actually. It feels natural too. Like I said, I don't, even caffeine, I guess it's natural. It still feels like it's doing too much in my brain sometimes. And, like what I experienced with the tryptophan was more like a healthy, calming clarity. And that's what I'm getting from this. I'm liking it. And it's the tryptophan kind of had a little more awakeness to it, like coffee, but not bad like coffee. And this one it's really nice. It's like a calm where I can just I'm just here. On anything right now. I need to get some of this stuff. Wonder if we have any.
You do, because your wife is on this.
Oh, okay, good. Kind of tastes like a lifesaver. Not quite as good, when you wintergreen lifesaver
Yeah.
like that.
What, I asked about percentages. What percentage of improvement are you feeling?
I don't know, like 40%.
Okay. Great. Thank you. That's, describing all that. It sounds good to me, and it sounds like there's no negatives.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's definitely positive.
Okay, great.
All right. So questions, comments, observations?
Can you
Well,
trial
it,
one amino acid right after the other?
Pardon, Susan?
Can you trial one amino acid right after the other?
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
In this video, you'll learn about the mental block that holds so many people back in anxiety and especially depression, and the essential skill to break that cycle. But first, a story from high school. So,
This is cannabis and mushrooms in a can. You ever try?
Sorry, everybody.
It's nice, right? So that's Italian.
Sorry about that. Okay. I guess I hadn't gotten off YouTube. Okay, so yes, you can trial one after the other. You want to give a little bit of time and then, look at the chart and see what's left, what's next, and then pull that in.
yeah,
And-
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go on, Russ.
Just while I was listening to that last presentation, I realized that I hadn't really connected the fact that I have some anxiety at different times, situational anxiety, that this might be a good opportunity to trial GABA for that. It doesn't, I've never connected it with like a trigger for eating, but it's just something I've experienced, and I have these other things that I do to try to manage the those feelings and not let them overwhelm me. But they are, I think, do you think, am I correct in that
You are.
association there?
Yep, I think trialing the chewable GABA or the GABA calm is a really good idea. And, people who know me know that I have a hard time in meetings with my bookkeeper and with my accountant. And my anxiety just goes sky high because I don't like numbers, and especially if they're my numbers. And what I find happening is that my brain turns off. So whatever the bookkeeper is saying goes in one ear and goes out the other and doesn't land. So I have trouble making the financial decisions I need to be making in those meetings. So I started, my favorite GABA support is the amino acid L-theanine. And so I decided to try 100 milligrams of theanine before a meeting with my bookkeeper, and I still get anxious. So I took another one, and immediately, so now it's 200 milligrams of theanine. I was able to calm down. I was able to ground myself. I was able to listen to the bookkeeper and hear what she said. And it was a much more successful meeting. So from that time forward, and this was now several years ago, whenever I have to meet with such people, I start with 200 milligrams of theanine, and it just makes all the difference in the world.
You just described my brain in numbers too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, let me know if it works.
I will. I absolutely will.
Yeah, also though, it made me think that because you've been doing this for years, that there might be some genetic like predisposition to not having the body, having a large store house of these amino acids. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, it's not so much a genetic thing about a storehouse of the aminos, because the aminos come in with food. So the more high protein food we get, if we're optimally digesting it, we're going to have a nice store of aminos floating around available to the brain to make neurotransmitters. Where the genes come in, it's the genes that regulate the rate of production of the neurotransmitters, how quickly they're broken down, and how well they're firing. So yes, people can definitely have genetic issues blocking the optimal production and firing of neurotransmitters, which will lead to symptoms. And Dr. Kenneth Blum in the 1980s and 90s identified 10 of these genetic issues that can set us up for different behaviors and substance use disorders. Depending upon which combination of these genes you have, you're going to be more likely to be oriented towards this drug versus that drug, or this behavior versus that behavior. And of course, if you have SNPs and no 10 of them, you're in deep, you know what, right? And these are the chronic relapsers. These are the people who end up in mental institutions. You know, these are people with treatment resistant everything. But we can use amino acids to open and support all 10 of those pathways and even more. This is what makes them such a game changer and so remarkable. And, you know, there's many differences between them and medication, psychotropic medication, one of which, well, first of all, they're completely anti-addictive because they are rebuilding neurotransmitter systems mostly rather than depleting them. But secondly, they work within 10 minutes.
Yep.
And that's what makes them so powerful. Now, Valium may work within 10 minutes too, and it's highly addictive. You know, so we'd much rather take one of these GABA lozenges or theanine, which works in 10 minutes without being, and works just as well without being addictive. So we're heading towards the top of the hour. I could play another video snip or take more questions, or we can call it a day. What would you all like?
I'd like to see another video.
Me too.
All right. Yes. See if I can find it. Oh, you know what I did? I shut it down. Okay, let me go. Let me go re-up it.
There are three simple changes I tell all of my arthritis patients to make. Number one, you have to start drinking more.
Okay, I don't think.
Hello, this is Julia Ross. Welcome to the first in the Reality Research Series. This recording, the first ever of its kind, will show Tara being interviewed by Kelly Nelson, the head nutritionist at my virtual clinic. I'll be asking her some questions as well. What you're going to see initially is Tara talking about why she decided to come to us for help. Notice her facial expressions and the way she expresses herself verbally. Then watch as she trials 4 different amino acids and see how she changes quickly in response to each one.
All right. So thanks for doing this with us, Tara. Don't mind starting with sharing with us a little bit about what you're here for, what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have read some of both the Mood Cure and the Cravings Cure, and have done a little bit of experimentation with neurotransmitter support. I'm a therapist, so I'm interested in this as a subject as well for my client care. And so initially started reading the Mood Cure mostly about for potential mood disorder stuff for clients, but found there was some of the stress sort of symptoms seemed to be really sort of aligned with my experience, just due to like having a pretty full practice and having interns and, you know, just other stressors, family stressors and such. So kind of resonated with that. And also feel like I'm kind of going through just an aging process. I'm 49, so just starting to notice some of like diminishing recovery after workouts, a little bit more fatigue and tiredness. And that I think also like ties into my food. So I have found myself really not having as much discipline as I've had in the past with food. I've had some good successes in the past of like doing like a whole foods diet or a paleo diet and being able to do something like that for several months. And now I find myself like even considering doing like, you know, eliminating like a certain chocolate or coffee, like that almost seems like an insurmountable task for me. Like I can't even contemplate like letting go of that. I also for a period of time was totally gluten free, and have just noticed myself just being like, yeah, you know, it's okay. I'm just gonna allow myself to eat, you know, sourdough products or whatever. And then also then finding myself going, oh, and it's okay to have like an almond croissant. And so it's definitely that the comfort craving thing that kind of really resonated with me. Like I feel like sometimes using foods to just self-soothe and to feel more calm. I had a kind of a realization not too long ago. I think I was just after my own personal therapy session, and I realized that I was like kind of in my mind going through sort of a problem solving thing, and I found my mind immediately going to food. And I just was like, that's interesting. It was almost like there's this very strong correlation with like a feeling of distress or discomfort, and then trying to think about what food is going to make me feel better. And it really even is sometimes like that, where I notice I'm like, if I just eat the right food, then somehow I'll feel okay. So I would say that's generally where I'm at. I don't find myself binging or purging so much. I do eat a fairly balanced diet, but it's at this point I feel like I am really looking for like caffeine and sugars to kind of like boost mood, energy, and then also noticing bigger dips in my energy in the afternoons, especially if I've had caffeine in the mornings.
Okay. And is there a specific time of day that cravings would typically show up?
I would say probably 2 times when I have cravings, the strongest. One would be sort of like afternoonish time, like maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll maybe like want like a sweet or a pick me up. And then definitely at night, like after dinner, we'll definitely want to, I crave like some kind of like dessert food or sweet.
That's right after dinner.
Yes, pretty much. And I've noticed that used to be a little bit more prolonged, like in like an hour after dinner, and now it seems like it's kind of moving up. Like it's like oh, time for my treat.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for sharing that. You know, you have 2 craving types that are the strongest, right? The comfort craver, the stress craver. So first thing I'd like you to do is grab what right now, how are you feeling in terms of energy?
Just a little bit like jittery. I did have coffee this morning, and then I think just kind of feeling slightly nervous just doing this for some reason. And so just feeling sort of a little jittery, but not totally crashed or not completely dysregulated.
Got it. Are you craving anything right now?
No, nothing right now.
Okay. It's a little early, right?
Yes, too early yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's first start with something to maybe calm the jitters.
Okay.
And it's your biggest type anyway. So in the Trilin kit, you'll see a blue sticker. There's a few blue stickers, but I want you to grab the one that also known as DPA, it'll say both.
Okay.
Supplements in your trialing kit, both with green stickers.
Okay.
And I would like you to pull out the D-phenylalanine. Also known as DPA, it'll say both.
Okay.
And you'll see there's a DPA and a DPA. You found it already?
Yeah, DPA.
Okay. That's the one. And just confirm for me that it says DPA, not DLPA.
Yeah, it says PA 500 milligrams.
Perfect. That's the one. Yeah. Well, cool. One of those capsules.
Right.
And you're gonna take the empty glass, put it in one, and then you're gonna kind of like pull, twist, and pull that capsule so you can break it apart.
Okay.
And dump the contents into the empty glass. So dump all the powder in there.
Okay.
All right, so now you're gonna add a little bit of water. It's like a splash, so 2 tablespoons or so, basically enough to have a mouthful where it would be comfortable to swish in your mouth.
Okay.
Okay, you can use a spoon to stir it. Some of them don't dissolve, they just get stuck to the glass, others do. So don't worry if it's not dissolving. Your goal is to just get the water and as much of the powder as possible into your mouth.
Okay.
Then you're gonna swish it in your cheeks for about 20-25 seconds if you can.
Okay.
The longer you swish, the better. Of course, you can swallow if it gets uncomfortable, but you need to. And then yes, you will eventually.
Okay.
Swish for as long as it's comfortable, and then I'll prompt you to swallow. It's going on. Wow. So what we're doing here is working on your endorphins. Your endorphins are your natural peak. Like get rid of endorphins, like a runner's high, endorphin high. If we are deficient in endorphins, certain symptoms are going to show up, like feeling really sensitive to emotional, physical. We could be prone to tearing up really easily or crying really easily. Chronic pain in our body, if we've had a lot of pain in the past or currently do, it's very draining to the endorphins, it's tensing it up. And then with food, this is the one for the comfort craver. So if you crave food for comfort or numbing or reward, like I deserve this kind of thought process, or pleasure, go ahead and swallow. That's a great. Some people think that tastes sweet and pleasant. Others hate it. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's sweet and I would say not horrible. It's just, yeah, it's not very strong. So it's tolerable.
Good. I don't want to torture you. So yeah, so when it comes to the food, when you're drawn to food because of comfort, reward, pleasure, or numbing, these are very clear low endorphin foods. And you've mentioned comfort to me already. Did you mention chocolate? Is chocolate something you crave?
Yeah, definitely chocolate is something I crave.
So this is like a key word. If someone says chocolate, I think endorphins, because that's what chocolate does. You know, it kind of just. So there's a lot of people addicted to chocolate, but the DPA can really help with that addiction or craving.
Right.
But I do have 2 options when it comes to the endorphins. There's DPA, there's DLPA too. The DPA is what directly increases your endorphins. The DLPA is half DPA and half LPA. So it's got DPA, but it also has LPA. LPA is a bit stimulating. So sometimes that combination is nice, and we might.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you to check in with yourself, see if there's anything.
I had mentioned before the tension and stuff in my neck and shoulders, and actually, interestingly enough, I don't feel that as acutely. It's like there's just a little bit, you know, I can tell like a little bit of soreness probably just from working out, but it doesn't feel like the like forefront of my mind, like, oh, this is all I can think about, like I'm so tense here and I've got to put some tiger balm on or something. So that's actually really kind of fascinating. And then it's also interesting, I just feel a little bit more I kind of, I mean, the way I would describe it is like in my body, like I feel like sort of my energy moved more out of my head, and I feel more like kind of in this chest and upper body. I just feel like kind of more full and like a little bit more spaciousness, almost like again sort of more of a sense of like openness and receptivity, and like I'm not as like concerned or needing to like do something, if that makes sense. Like I feel just a little bit more like, oh, okay, everything's fine and I'm just here, and I feel relaxed and pretty calm.
So a little bit more like content.
Yeah, just a little bit more content. Like I don't feel as much like, yeah, it almost feels like a detaching from like, I mean, it's really weird, but it almost feels like a detaching from like the connection to like pain. Like, you know, like, oh no, I've got pain. I've got to figure this out. I've got to do something. It's like, oh no, I'm fine.
Okay. So it sounds positive to me.
Yeah, I'm really actually, this is weirding me out a little.
This is very normal.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, this is your body's way of saying, yes, I want these. Thank you. So again, I like to quantify things. If you could put a percentage to the improvement that you're feeling.
Yeah. I would say like 80% improvement. Mm-hmm.
For you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Mood wise, did this make you feel so it definitely made you feel more content. Do you feel happier in any way?
It's kind of like, yeah, it's like I don't feel like I have anything to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I guess, yeah, just like an increase in well-being. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't feel like as consumed with like I need to yeah, to change how things are.
Cool. Great, thank you. All right, well, thank you. Are we ready to move on?
Sure, yeah. Just keeps getting
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Those were your two that I expected you to respond well to. So we'll see, these others are more experimental in a way, like your symptoms aren't as apparent in these other types.
So yeah.
But there are some, so it makes sense by that.
Okay.
Avoid these foods if you want to lose weight fast. You're a female and you want to get toned and you want to get fit, you have 15 pounds that you want to lose, you can actually take.
Okay, so if you want to listen to more, you can go on yourself to YouTube to Julia Ross's channel and listen to your heart's content. But she only has a couple more. I think we got the bulk of it. But any thoughts, questions, comments, reactions? What do you think of this?
Very
The
helpful.
DLPA, I'm sorry, go ahead, Susan. I've taken up a lot of bandwidth already.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just gonna say this is very helpful. And I'm assuming that you start with the questionnaire in Julia Ross's book. Does she have that
Well,
online?
yes, either the questionnaire in Julia Ross's book or her amino acid therapy chart that you can get digital access to through our office or paper access. And it's what we teach through our course. So I make, at the end of our level 1 training, I make you all, best I can, experts at amino acid therapy and utilizing this chart for dosing the aminos.
Thank you.
It's a nice little 1-pager. Let's see if I have one in front of me that I can show you. Russ, what did you want to say?
Oh, what piqued my interest was the comments she was making about DLPA, and I think there was a couple of different forms that she mentioned, and I didn't get all that down, but I was hoping you could expand a little on DLPA use.
Oh, yes. Pardon this.
But first, get that chart.
Yeah, there we go. I just found it.
Is that chart online? As you said, there's a copy online, right?
Yes, or just write to my office and we can send you one. So this is, well, an old version of what it looks like. The amino acid therapy chart, and it's on a 1-page format. And it's extremely useful. We also have a digital version that you can get access to as well. So D-phenylalanine is a synthetic amino acid that was designed to reduce the amount of morphine needed in postoperative surgical patients. It is the mirror image of an amino acid called L-phenylalanine. So they have the same last name, but they do very different things. All right, bye, Lisa. I guess she left. They do very different things. The D-phenylalanine keeps the endorphins in the synapse longer and enhances, therefore, endorphin activity to bring comfort and sense of connection. I think about it as the warm fuzzies. Okay, it's the warm fuzzies molecule, but it relieves physical and emotional pain actually quite well. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago and I used it actually 3 times. I had 2 people come to my table who had had major loss. One woman, this was right after she lost her home in the North Carolina flood, came to my table during a session when the exhibit hall was empty and just sort of broke down at my table. And so I gave her TLC and D-phenylalanine. Somebody else had just put her daughter into treatment and came to my table and sort of started processing it because I was there and nobody else was. And I gave her TLC and tissues and D-phenylalanine, right? Just to bring the sense of comfort and the ability to cope better with the pain. Okay, it's not so much going to numb you out the way heroin might, but it just softens it enough that you can now function. And it's not taking up all of your space. And then a former student of mine came by on the very last day of the conference, and she had just torn a major muscle in her upper back, in her neck, and was in quite intense pain. And the ibuprofen, aspirin stuff was just not working at all. Now she was going to be getting on an airplane the next day and flying home. She was very worried about this. So I gave her, I think 1,500, I gave her 3 capsules of the D-phenylalanine and a handful for her to dose herself later with. She'd forgotten about it. And the next day, she found me and she said, you know, it's the most amazing thing. I took another dose just before dinner, and I was able to actually dance with my son at the dance after dinner. And by the next morning, the pain was absolutely gone.
Wow.
So it doesn't always work that dramatically, but it's been known to. Absolutely, it can do that. So that's the D-phenylalanine by itself. Now, when you bring in the L-phenylalanine into DLPA combination, 50% each, the L-phenylalanine turns into tyrosine, turns into dopamine and norepinephrine. So it supports the catecholamine. So it gives you a mood boost, more energy, more joy, more upbeatness. So if you combine upbeatness with pain relief, that's a really nice combination. And for a lot of people, it just takes the edge off during the day. Now, you don't necessarily want to do that just before bed because the catecholamines can be a little stimulating and can interfere with sleep, perhaps. But this is why we'll maybe dose the DLPA during the day, and you can get that over the counter. The D-phenylalanine by itself, the FDA is a little squirrely about, so it's hard to find that over the counter, but you can definitely buy it online, and you can buy it from the supplement store that's on the Academy's website. So we'll take that at bedtime, when you don't want any extra stimulation.
Thanks so much. Really clarifies it.
Yeah. You're so welcome. All right. Anything else before we call it a day?
I've had DLPA many, many times, but I haven't had DPA for myself. So that's really, I think I may try that at some point.
You
Yeah.
try that.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have you here with us. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.